Okay, well, thank you very much indeed for talking. First of all, you cannot help but to have noticed our location. Do you have any recollections at all of that first gig in the UK in '91 in this venue?
Yeah, it's really clear actually, surprisingly, because it was the first gig. I think we all remember that on the stage there's a pole that Mike had to stand behind. So if you were looking up from the crowd, you would just see, you know, 3 members of the band. And we've always, anytime we've ever thought about the underworld, you always remember the pole in the middle of the stage.
Still there, yeah.
Yeah, you know, but it was great because it was the start of the whole journey for us, and I think we were surprised at the amount of people that showed up that first night, because we were kind of playing around in Ireland a little bit, like especially did a good few shows in Limerick, did the odd one in Galway and I think Dublin, but we didn't have the kind of crowds that we got over here, so it was fantastic to see that.
You must have felt at that moment, this is quite special that we're starting with. This journey is going to be quite special.
It was definitely excitement, yeah, to get that reaction from the crowd, and then that was kind of, we did a short tour shortly after that for about 2 weeks, and there was fans that had come to the show here were coming to different shows. So that was the kind of start of fans following us around, and it was, oh my God.
And you were all very young. I mean, Dolores was a teenager, you were
We were
teens?
kids. We were, I think, average maybe 18,
Yeah.
you know, you were
17, I'd say.
Yeah, you know, so you think you're, like, in my memory, you know, we're all older, but we weren't. When you look back at photos or any video clips, we were children, really.
And did Dolores have the confidence and the stage presence that we then would associate with her?
No, she'd look at the floor, our face, us.
Yeah.
We all kind of kept our heads down.
We all had long hair, and it was that kind of
Your high
shoelacer
hair,
thing, yeah. So, but she was starting to kind of come out of herself a tiny bit, but definitely, you know, she was still, compared to what she became later, really, really shy.
It's a year tomorrow, the anniversary of her death. I mean, how are you doing?
It comes in waves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you kind of forget about it a little bit, you know, but then there's obviously constant reminders for us, especially the fact that, you know, being so public in our lives, that you see photos or you hear songs and stuff, and it reminds you, and you've really, really good memories of it, but it's kind of a bit of disbelief, I think, as well, that it's actually, you keep kind of expecting her to call or email her, you know, as I guess many people who've lost kind of anyone would expect that. It doesn't seem like a year at all, it just seems like a few weeks, really.
It's all been a bit of a blur, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially when we were out doing the recording of the album as well. The first few days was a bit strange, but then once we got into it, we just got going and got the work done. But you were expecting her to come in the door at some stage and say it wasn't right or something like that, or you know.
It's very difficult for people to understand when you're a unit of 4 and have been for the best part of 3 decades, and that has fundamentally changed forever. How one actually programs that.
Yeah, it's you know, I guess it was new territory going in, even though we've done albums, you know, you do it with a blindfold on, you just walk in and you do it, but it was that whole thing of, you get kind of, on the day you get trapped in the whole thing and you're really concentrating on it, and I found that we would normally, for the 3 of us, on every album, we'd normally finish up about 5 or 6 in the evening. Dolores comes in, she'd like to do her vocals at night. And it was you were going home and realising that's it, we're done for today, and you'd start to kind of think about everything you did that day and the songs you were working on, and that it was her voice you were listening to, and you know, and that you're not actually ever going to see her again, and you know, things like that. I found that, you know, it was at night when you weren't working that it was really, really would hit you, you know, but then you get up the next day and you kind of brush yourself off and get in and do it. And thankfully we worked with Stephen Street again on this album, and Stephen has done a lot of our albums over the years, and he's like almost the 5th member of the band, and I think the combination of that familiarity for all of us, it kind of made it nice, and it wasn't, you know, it wasn't a big morbid thing. We actually had fun doing the album, and you know, she would have loved that kind of banter as well that we had.
She used to email her lyrics, and the email relationship you had, and I think exactly a year ago, I think even the night before or the day before, she emailed
Yeah.
something to you.
Yeah, she was on her way over to London, and she had sent some stuff that she kind of wanted to check. Had she already sent it already? Because as the years went on, we lived in different countries, and you know, the kind of getting together to rehearse wasn't as frequent. So it made it easier in the sense that we could just email ideas across and kind of, you know, you'd send her stuff. She'd go, I like that, and we'd start working on those, and then she'd send back a kind of a very rough guide on top of that, and that's how we ended up with so much done in that kind of before her death. You know, the kind of from the summer of that year all the way to Christmas, the things had been going over and back, and we ended up with this album then because of that. Even though we didn't obviously know at the time that, you know, normally you do the demos and then we'd book a couple of months and go in and actually start doing the album properly. It was just we did that this time, but obviously without Dolores. But we had her here, like in our headphones every day.
That must have been so strange to be hearing that incredible voice.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
place.
Yeah, especially sometimes Steve would solo the vocal and just have the vocal on its own, but he was listening to certain parts, and that was very strange to hear just the voice on its own.
Yeah, and there's parts where, like, the tape would have been left rolling, you can hear her talking, which is really where then you kind of saying to whomever's recording her, can you play that back again? And you know, you kind of, it was kind of, she's not there, but she is there kind of thing. But I think, you know, she was really, really excited about getting back into the studio and doing this album. So when we kind of went through the songs and realised how strong we felt this album was, to not do it would have been kind of a, you know, the wrong thing to do. And when we spoke to Stephen, he felt the momentum was there because we had kind of got the collection of songs. We were all kind of hyped up about it, and it was like, do we do the album now or do we wait a year and go back and visit it? But I think we were also emotional as well at the time that it was the right thing to do and go in and you kind of get that emotion out there as well. And it put closure on it for us as well as a band.
And it is the final Cranberries album.
Yeah, like we, you know, Dolores was like a massive, massive part of this band. So it's never been really a question for any of us to continue on. We're happy. I think like we've done really, really well with this band, and kind of we have a good legacy, and I think that's the way to leave it now, is on the high of this album.
She had the work, a very substantial part of the work had been done in the months leading up to Dolores' death, so you had all those vocals there ready to go, didn't you?
Yeah. That was the great thing, you know, as I was saying, it could have been that Dolores passed away and we'd had nothing, and you know, it would have just been the end of it. At the end of the last tour, it would have just been kind of full stop. But we realise how lucky we are to be in this position, because it would have been just the kind of, I guess, for us it would have felt like the thing just kind of fizzled out without a proper ending. Whereas I think now for us and the fans that we've been kind of speaking to a bit, they're so happy that we've done this, you know. And it has been a hard kind of year and weird in many ways, but you know, we're here now, and I think we're just excited for it to be out there and for people to hear it, because we've lived with it for so long, kind of under secrecy. You know, it'll be nice, and I think people will be really, really impressed with, especially the vocals on this, and the lyrics are, you know, they're really from Dolores' heart, you know.
Is there a theme of the album? I mean, it's called In the End, so there's a finality? Is finality the theme of the songs that Dolores was writing?
Kind of is, and a few of the songs, yeah. It's strange, it's almost like a premonition or something, but yeah, it's just, it's very, the lyrics are really honest and emotional, and you know, I think it captures her feeling at that time.
Though she was in a very good place, wasn't she?
Yeah, you know, and she kind of, because it was written over a long kind of period, you know, depending on how she was during that, then it kind of, the subject matter is, she kept saying that I have tons to write about, you know, and she'd be ringing up going, have you any more idea? Like, you couldn't keep up with the demand really. And there's a bunch of songs that are Dolores songs on here as well, like she would write her own things, you know. And so we had more than enough to kind of work with for the album. And I think for us, you know, calling it In the End, and there's a track called In the End, and it kind of sums it up our whole career really. When people hear that song, they'll kind of realise why we went that way.
Her problems in the past well documented, but she was in a good place when she was writing that song. So the shock of the loss, the manner in which she died, must have been all the more devastating for you.
Yeah, definitely.
Difficult to comprehend.
Still, I think that's why it still some days doesn't sink in, because it was so sudden and so shocking and unexpected, you know.
I think now you also have the support of her family, don't you, in releasing the songs?
Yeah.
That must have been a very important stage in this album.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we kind of Dolores' brother Peach isn't heavily involved with the band, and we kind of discussed it with him and Dolores' mother as well about going forward and doing the album, and they would be okay with that as well. So and they were delighted that we were moving ahead with that. So it was great.
What do you think her legacy should be?
I guess, you know, like, she's left such a massive collection of songs, like, of, you know, such huge iconic songs. I mean, for anybody to leave even one is a great thing, but to have the collection, you know, and it's great to see that people have focused on her music after her death, you know, because it's been a long career of ups and downs and all kinds of things, but I've noticed in the last year, like, the legacy seems to be focused on the music, and that's all any band or any artist can ask for.
And she had a voice that was so distinctive, didn't
Yeah.
she?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
who's
that's
got a
right.
voice like that? You
Yeah.
never hear
Yeah.
a voice like that
Yeah.
again, will
Yeah,
you?
exactly.
Yeah, I mean, from day one when we met her, you're kind of gone, how come she's not already in a band, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it was great, like, we were so lucky to meet her, and then there was just that chemistry clicked between the four of us. And I mean, you could be a musician for many years and never have that. So you know, we've had a great 30 years, and the legacy of the band, I think, you know, the songs hopefully will continue to grow and grow as the years go on.
So as you launch this new album, your emotions must be very mixed. There's sadness, but also satisfaction, I suppose.
Yeah, I think so. I think we're all looking forward to people hearing it, and hear, like, what we hear, because to us it sounds like, we were discussing it at breakfast this morning, like, we think it's probably, like, you know, it's really up there on our list of albums of ones that we've done. I guess the downside is we never going to get to play it live, you know, which would be, it's a pity, but it's just one of those things. And it's just nice to kind of get it out there finally as well, and it's a bit of, as I said, it's closure for all of us then.
What would you like the people listening to this album to go away with, their impressions?
Just to be moved by it, and to kind of go, oh my God, Cranberries sound great, you know. And it's like it is that a lot of people that have heard it have said that it's that kind of Cranberries sound that for the first and second album, No Need to Argue and everybody else or whatever, that it's that kind of sound almost again. So it's almost come full circle, you know. So I think I think a lot of people will be happy with that, you know.
Yeah, and it's a good mix of it's not all, like, you know, it's not a kind of morbid album.
Yeah,
there's actually quite
Yeah,
bright,
exactly. Yeah.
you know, because I was kind of wanting to explain to someone yesterday that, you know, people may think that it's a kind of a dark album, and it's not at all, because obviously these songs were written over a long period, and you know, with no one knowing what the end was going to be at that time. So it was it's very much a classic kind of Cranberry sounding album.
It has to reflect how extraordinary she was. I mean, because
Yeah.
she must have been
Yes, yeah.
quite a personality to be
Yeah,
around.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
That's lovely.
Thanks. Cheers.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
Appreciate that.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Cheers.